everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see y'all coming on in. Come on in. Come on in. I am Sade Slaughter, and I'm the president of Generation Genesis. Generation Genesis is a nonprofit that empowers generations to recreate their narrative. And we primarily serve impoverished and underserved communities in Charlotte. And we currently have an online resource hub right now that provides resources and connections for the entire nation. Now, the college symposium, the reason why you're all here and all looking at me right now, is something that we started to help that transition period from high school to college and just to help it be a lot less stressful for the people involved. So, I am going to get out of your way. I want us to stick to our time, and I'm going to introduce our first speaker. This is Darren Morgan. He is a college counselor with Arkansas Commitment. Let's go ahead and welcome Darren Morgan.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darren Morgan. I'm actually the executive director of Arkansas Commitment. We're a nonprofit organization that coaches kids on how to get into college. We've been around for about 20 years, and in that time, within the last 10 years, we've helped about 450 kids go to schools like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, you name it. And those 450 kids have also racked up over $40 million in scholarships and grants. Before my time at Arkansas Commitment, I was actually the assistant dean of admissions and financial aid at Davidson College in North Carolina. During that time there, I learned a lot about what colleges look for, how we recruit, things that students can do on their applications to make them more competitive in the admissions pool. And what I do now with Arkansas Commitment and side projects like this one is basically give all that knowledge to the aspiring students that want to go to college, that want to go to selective institutions like the Vanderbilts, the Stanfords, the Yales, the Princetons, the Emorys, or whatever school they want to. But with this blueprint, they should be able to get into any college they want and find the dollars to go as well. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a practice of admissions called holistic admissions. And this is normally practiced by highly selective schools, your Ivies, your near Ivies, and those schools that have 25% acceptance rates or lower. The reason why I tell students how to get into these schools, because even if you don't want to get into these type colleges, if you're shooting for the stars, let's say you miss these or you choose not to, but you use the same method of preparation for these colleges, you should be able to get into your state flagship university, the local college down the street, or wherever you want to go. All right, so we're going to run through a quick presentation about holistic admissions. I'm also going to dabble a little bit into financial aid and need-based financial aid, which is a relatively new form of policy of aid starting in about 2008, where if you don't have the money to go now, these type colleges will actually give you the funds and grants and scholarships, no loans. So essentially our students can graduate after 4 years with very little or no financial aid debt. All right, so give me 1 second to share my screen and we'll get started. And at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them at me in the comments. If you can, unmute yourself and ask. I'm very open. So this is for you, so feel free to direct it in any way you want. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is holistic admissions. Why does this matter? The things you can do to stand out in the applicant pool. And we're going to allow you to find out things you can do to increase your chances of getting in. All right. So first up, so some things to consider. When you're applying and your admissions counselor gets your application, there's really only about 5 key things we're looking for. And I know historically we've always been told, and my counselors told me the exact same thing, is that colleges are looking at your GPA, your ACT or SAT score, and your extracurricular involvement. That's only a snippet of what we actually look for. When I was taught to review applications, we actually start in the 9th grade and look at everything a student has done between the 9th and 12th grade. And these things things that we do consider are your personal information. Is there anything about the student's background or family information that really stands out in relation to the college that they're applying? And that last part that I underlined, that is one of the most important parts. In relation to the college you're applying. I want you to remember when you're applying to college, you're not actually applying to a school. You're not actually applying to gain acceptance to the university. What you're actually applying for is to get accepted into the culture of the school. For someone reading the applications to assess you to know the culture and the environment and the community that that college has, and to see if you're a good fit. When you think about those really hard schools to get into, everyone has, a 3.5 or above. Everyone has a really good SAT or ACT score. But the difference is going to be, and the deal maker really is if you're going to be a good fit for that institution. If you're going to be able to come into that environment and just blend in seamlessly with the overall community that's already present. So I'm going to teach you in a few slides down how you can show you're a good fit for the school. The next thing that we consider is actually your transcript. And everyone thinks about that in a little bit. I'm going to show you the order that we go in. But the first thing that we care about on the transcript is not actually your GPA. And that's because anyone can get a 4.0 if you take art, health, PE, those really easy classes, basically, those electives. But when you take AP Bio, AP Chemistry, AP US History, it's a little bit harder to make those A's and B's. And that's what we want to see. When you challenge yourself, and if you challenge yourself, how successful were you at meeting that challenge? Did you hop in 4 AP classes and get 4 C's or D's? Or did you rise to that challenge and continue making A's and B's? That's what we look at first. For institutions like the highly selective schools, they want to make sure that students are academically prepared for their schools. At this point, it's not about if you can do the work, because we know you can. It's how prepared are you for the rigorous environment that our colleges has. And the way that we see that first is by the amount of advanced placement classes or international baccalaureate classes a students take in that 4-year period in high school. The second point on the transcript is what grades you received over the 4 years. Is there a trend up or trend down? And what that means is when you're in the 9th grade, we understand that 9th grade year is a transition year. It's a lot harder for you because you're coming out of 8th grade. You used to be popular. You used to know how the school operated. You used to have favorite teachers that would look out for you. And now you transition to 9th grade. You're in a completely new environment. You're at the bottom of the totem pole. You don't know teachers. The class changes. It's a little bit of a different structure for you. So the 9th grade year is an adjustment year. So in a lot of cases, colleges kind of expect, or we're not surprised, rather, that students' GPAs or drops tend to drop in that 9th grade year. After that, though, we want to make sure that your grades go up, and that's a trend up. So it's okay if you messed up a little bit in 9th grade year, as long as your 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year show that your grades improved, and we see a positive trend or a trend up, then we can turn a blind eye to one bad year on your transcript. If shown on the transcript, what kind of program is the student on? Is that senior year weak? Is it challenging? For a lot of students, I know how it was. I was the same way when I was in high school. That senior year, a lot of students want to do the least amount of work possible. Students do not want to work hard in that senior year because now you can see the finish line. Now you have to write essays for college, you have to apply to college, you have to hang out with your friends one last year. So a lot of students want to go the easier route. For colleges, we see that and we recognize that, and we don't like that. So a lot of students that will opt into early release programs, we're able to get an internship and leave school at 10 o'clock. Or for students that satisfy the state minimum requirements for classes they have to take and opt to not take a heavier schedule in that senior year, we view both of those in most cases as a missed opportunity. You could have taken harder classes. You could have expanded your horizon a little bit by taking classes that you didn't have to, but you opted not to. So if you can, remember to always, please fill up your curriculum, your class schedule. For these type colleges, they practice what's called the 5-4 rule, where we look for 5 core classes for 4 years straight. So math, science, social studies, foreign language, and English. In our minds, any class that you take over a certain level, let's say Algebra 2, for instance, any class you take over Algebra 2 would increase your chance of graduating from our institution by 20%. So just simply taking 5 core classes for 4 years straight will allow you to be competitive in your applicant pools, because in our minds, we think you've already done the prep work to stay on top. The other things that we look out for, of course, is standardized test scores. What are your SAT and ACT scores? How do the scores fit into the ranges of the college profile? And do those scores correlate with the student's GPA? Meaning, if you have a 4.0 and a 5 on the ACT, something's not adding up. Want to make sure that both are equal. And I'll show you a visual that explains that in a little bit. Now, one thing to remember about SAT and ACT scores now is that colleges have actually moved towards being test optional, meaning if you don't want to submit those scores these days, for a lot of colleges, you no longer have to. But what's going to be very important to schools that are now test optional will be the first 4 categories of things to look for. So what classes you took in high school, your GPA, your essays, your extracurriculars, and then those test scores will be dead last. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourself about those SAT and ACT scores. I want you to do well on them, but I also want you to know that it's not the end of the world anymore if you don't have those scores. All right. Activities. What has the student accomplished outside the classroom? How much time has the student committed to these activities? And has the student pursued an activity over a sustained period of time? To be honest with you, we talk a lot about extracurriculars, but we never really give you any insight of what extracurriculars we really want or we're looking for. And the truth of it is we really don't have set extracurriculars that we want to see on the application. The only thing we care about is that the student is doing something outside the classroom. For every college across America, I don't care if it's 2,000 students, 20,000 students, or 50,000 students, no admissions counselor wants to invite 50,000 students to our campus that are just going to go to class and then go back to their dorm and go to sleep. That would be a very boring campus to be in. You wouldn't want to go to that school. We wouldn't want to work at that school. So what we're really looking for is students is going to maintain the vibrancy of our campus. Students is going to join clubs, create clubs, get involved, make a positive impact in their neighborhood. That's what we want to see, because if you're doing that consistently over a sustained period in high school, it's a good chance that's what you're going to do when you get to our colleges too. So when you think about scholarships, and I'll explain that in a little bit, don't think about scholarships as just the college gave you money. Think about it like you were really great at leadership, really great at community service, really great at band or sports or whatever it is. So the college is paying you to do what you're already good at. So if you're really involved in service and leadership, and you want to do a community service, you want a community service scholarship in college, you want to continue that, then your extracurriculars need to be filled with service. If you want to be a doctor, what's also going to help is if you're able to find a summer program or internship or shadowing opportunity where you're able to shadow a doctor for maybe 2-3 hours out the week or 1 weekend out the month. What's important in that is that an adult has already taken the time to prep you and to groom you and develop you into the student that once they hit our campus, you can hit the ground running. We don't have to take time to prepare you and get you caught up to speed. You're already going to be at the level you need to be when you get to our campus. And that's really what we want to see in extracurriculars. When it comes to extracurriculars, we're going to assess you on 5 different categories. And those categories are going to be school and club. So the activities like Beta Club, Robotics Club, things of that nature in your high schools. Service and religion can come in religious organizations, church, mosque, synagogues, whatever. But also if you just have a heart for service and want to use your weekend to feed people in need or to raise school supplies for kids that can't afford them, whatever it is, we'll look at your service and your involvement, your community impact. Next up will be if you play a sport. We also look at arts and music. And the last one is if you work or have a part-time job or internship. So those 5 categories, the more you do in those categories, the more time you devote to activities in those categories lets us know that that's something that you're very passionate about. And that's what you're going to do when you get to our institution. And the last thing that we look for, I believe it's the last thing that I listed, will be your essays. What does the essay tell you about the student? What we're looking for is really insight. What qualities or talents do you reveal about yourself? Do I get a sense of the student as a person? And again, these categories and these areas that we're looking for is going back to fit. If this student is going to fit into our campus, into our community, it's not necessarily about the grammar, the spelling, and the punctuation. That's last in the categories of things that we look for essays. In our mind, good writing does equate to good thinking. So if your grammar, your spelling, your punctuation is perfect, or at least decent, then we're thinking that you're also going to be able to write just as well in the classroom. That's going to help you out. But other than that, what we're really looking for is a sense of your personality, a sense of what you're going to bring to the table in our community, how are you going to fit into what we already have? That brings me to the next point, institutional priorities. So while we will never tell you what we're looking for as far as activities go, you can kind of get a sense of what we're looking for. Um, every school, just like your high school, if you're in Charlotte, let's say you go to, oh man, I'm blanking on the name. Let's say West Meck. You go to West Meck High School, it has about 2,000 students. Within that high school, there are certain pockets of students, right? Just like in every community. You're going to have your students that love leadership activities, so they want to get involved in the student government. You have your students that are really interested in STEM, so they might join the robotics club or join the STEM magnet program. You have your musicians, your athletes, students that just volunteer whenever they can, students whose parents went there, and then you have diversity, right? These are pretty much the same categories of students that colleges look for too. Now, this pie chart is going to change in values from year to year. So that's something that you can't know, but you can get a good heads up of what we need by looking at what the seniors are doing in that class, because those are the students that's going to graduate. The admissions counselor's job is really just to replenish the school population of all those graduating seniors. So if we're going to lose out on a few musicians, let's say we're going to lose a clarinet player, the best clarinet player we've ever had. Now we need a student that's going to come in and be able to pick up that slack and be just as good on the clarinet. If we're losing our best shooting guard for basketball, we're going to recruit students that are going to be just as good. That's going to add value to our basketball team. Same thing for the robotics club, for student government. So that's one way of thinking about institutional priorities. Now, you can help by casting a wide net. Never put all your eggs in one basket. So if you are really interested in student government, yeah, go ahead and devote a lot of time to SGA. But if you're able to play an instrument, if you're also into STEM and robotics, if you like service and want to volunteer, whatever it is, make sure you cast a wide net and just show the admissions counselor that you have a huge impact in your community across multiple areas and not just in one area. Because if that is an area where the school does not have an institutional priority, you're going to be a little bit weaker in that applicant pool. But if you have or indicate on your application that you're involved in any of the other areas that colleges are looking for, that college in particular is looking for, then that will greatly help you out by having that activity on your application. All right, so to put it in visual form, the 5 things that we're looking for on your applications in level of importance, in the order of importance, is going to be rigor. So how many really hard classes did you take? How many advanced placement classes you take? Ideally, I would love for students to take at least one AP in every subject if it's possible. If it's not possible, go ahead and just try to do as many as you can. But the goal number is a minimum of 3. Now, if you can do 4 or 5, you will look perfect academically on paper. Next up will be your GPA. With the GPA, of course, every student wants that 4.0, but that's not always possible. And sometimes taking those harder classes will put a little dent in your GPA too. But the good thing about taking advanced placement classes and international baccalaureate, and in some cases honors classes, is that those classes will provide a 1-point boost or a half-point boost to your GPA for every class you take. So in some cases, students that are taking 5 AP classes, made straight A's and everything, their GPA can be inflated to a 5.0, a 6.0, in some cases higher. Next up would be your essays, then your extracurriculars, then your SAT and ACT score. So the beautiful thing about holistic admissions is, again, we're looking at you from 9th grade through 12th grade, and we're assessing these 5 categories. With holistic admissions, your admissions counselor can actually give you a little bit of slack in one area. So if you're weaker in one area, so let's say you might not have all those advanced placement classes or international baccalaureate classes that you want, you can kind of balance out the equation by having a really good SAT and ACT score. The opposite is also true. If you have a ton of advanced placement classes and might not have the ACT or SAT score that you want, it will still balance out the equation if you can prove to the admissions counselor that you're able to meet the challenge of that hard environment by taking those rigorous classes, by hopping in and getting a great GPA, and by writing a great essay. In both of these equations, the essay is always the cornerstone. This is a teeter-totter or a seesaw, The essay will always rest in the middle. Now, for the ideal college applicant, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to be equally great across the board. Your rigor is going to be amazing. Your GPA is going to be 3.5 or above. Your essay is going to be on point. Great storytelling, great writing, great grammar, all that matters. Your extracurricular shows a wide degree of volume. I'm sorry, not volume, a wide degree of involvement in the community, in your school, in your church, in your religious organization, or whatever. And the very last thing will be a really good ACT score. Now, the reason why the essay is important, and this is going to link back to institutional priorities, because when you're filling out an application, everything honestly looks identical. There is no difference on the application from one student to the next. We ask all of the same basic information. Where are you from? What high school do you go to? What's your GPA? You know, all the basic things that you're going to fill out on any application. The essay will be the one shot you have to let the admissions counselor know anything that you want to know about yourself, to tell your story and to build your narrative in a way that you hope the admissions counselor will like and will admit you for. So a couple of things that we're looking at in the essay, and these are a few tips for when you brainstorm. I want you to figure out who are you? You know, what's the story that you want to sell to the admissions counselor? And the important part is not to tell the story, but to sell it to us. Anytime students start writing essays, you know, in any story, whether it's a movie or somebody's telling you how their day went, if they just start listing facts, you get bored really quick. If you ask somebody how the day went and it goes, oh, I woke up at 8 o'clock, I brushed my teeth at 8:05, I took a shower at 8:15, you're going to fall asleep while they're telling you. Think about what the admissions counselor is going through. They have to read about 300 plus, and that's for a small college, 300 plus essays in a year for each counselor. If those essays are boring or start looking the same, they're going to fall asleep, and that is going to lead to a denial. So you can make your essay stand out from the crowd by making your story compelling, by telling the story in a great way that's going to kind of draw the admissions counselor in. So always start off with a story if you can, because stories allow the reader to connect with you. All right, sorry about that, but we are back. So going back to the essay. So a few things that's important is go ahead and sell your story to the admissions counselor. Don't tell it because we will fall asleep. Now, when you're starting to think about what you want to write in the essay, before you even start writing, what I really want you to do is do a lot of research, a lot of self-discovery, self-analyzation, and find out who you are as a person and how you want to shape this story. I call it discovering your essence objects, the essence of who you are. Pick 10 words that if you weren't in class today and somebody asked, how is Darren, or what is Darren like? What 10 words do you want your classmates to use to describe you? Now, make those words different because everybody's going to say smart, funny, engaging, hardworking, or whatever. So they're going to, I'm sorry. So they're going to look at you as a person. They're going to look at who you are and what 10 words do you want to use to describe yourself. So make sure those words are unique because everybody's going to say smart, funny, hardworking, engaging. So pick something that's a little bit different. Also want you to dig deep. Tell your deepest story. Find something that is matching the words of the essay topic. I'm sorry. So let me know if you guys can hear me too. I'm getting text that we may not be live anymore. Give me 1 second. All right, I think we are still good. All right, so tell your deepest story. Find the essay topic that matches the story that you want to tell. That's going to allow you to tell the best story and then run with that. Now, with your deepest story, I know a lot of times you find the need, or a lot of students find a need to kind of make it feel like a journal entry as they're writing their essay. And while that does give great insight, that's very close to what we need, but we need you to take it one step further. So don't just tell us about you, and don't tell us about, your saddest moment in your life or the time you overcame a huge challenge or an obstacle. Everybody has that. That's how we're designing the question. But what we're really looking for is not only to find out who you are, but how you're going to fit into the campus community as well. And the best way to do that is to mirror the values of the college in your story. So while you got all that down, you got your 10 words, you got your essence objects, you have an idea of the story you want to tell, your next step should be to research the college. Go visit the campus if you can, check out their online tours, talk to their admissions counselors, maybe at college fairs, at high school visits, at workshops or whatever. Review their website, look at the history page to find out about the history of the college. Check out their about page to see what's very important to them, the values that they constantly promote about themselves. Also check out the admissions page to see what type of student they're looking for. It'll also help you out too to look at all the students that they promote on their website, the students that's doing amazing research or something different. Those are like the college's dream student. That is the epitome of what XYZ college is looking for, those type students. So make sure you mirror your story in a way where you're reflecting those same values, those same work ethics, the same culture back to the college. It's like you're holding up a mirror to them. So tell a story that allows them to get insight into who you are, but also that mirrors their values back to them. So for the next piece, I'm going to move on and talk about financial aid. So new way of financial aid is a little bit different. So back in the day, you applied to college. If you didn't have the money, you took out a lot of loans, right? But now with college tuition, looking at about $70,000 a year for some schools, a lot of people just can't afford that. So a ton of colleges across America have actually moved towards a need-based model of financial aid, where instead of just looking at the FAFSA and another document called the CSS profile to assess your financial means, whatever you can't get now, they'll give it to you in grants and scholarships, no loans. So a lot of students can graduate completely debt-free. If your families make anywhere between $75,000 and $150,000 a year, you can qualify for need-based financial aid and be able to get everything you need in grants and scholarships. All right, so a few important concepts, and I'm gonna be quick. We have our next speaker logging on. It's financial aid. So we look at cost of attendance. That's just the sticker price. And I'll show you why I say it's a sticker price in a second. The types of aid that's out there, from grants to scholarships to work study and loans, and then what the net price calculator is and why that's going to help you out in this process. So how do you qualify? The first step and the easiest step is to fill out the FAFSA. That's the free application for federal student aid. Emphasis on free. If you go to any other website other than FAFSA.ed.gov to fill out the FAFSA, they're going to charge you. And they're going to charge you just to route you back to this government's free website. So make sure you're entering in the right website, because this is a free application. Any organization that's asking you to pay is not a legitimate organization for the FAFSA. The next step will be the CSS profile. Now, only select colleges ask for the CSS profile. And what the CSS profile is essentially the institutional version of the FAFSA. The FAFSA is a federal document that's issued by the federal government. The CSS profile stands for College Scholarship Search, and it is actually administered by select colleges. Now, that one is free. It does come at a fee. It's about $25 to submit to one college, and then $16 for every college after that. However, while the FAFSA just looks at how much money you have coming in, the CSS profile looks at how much money your family has going out. So if you have any medical expenses, any businesses not doing well, if you lost any money over time, maybe in the stock market or something like that, all that is considered. And that FAFSA, the CSS profile, will actually give you a relatively realistic estimate of what you can actually pay. For schools that ask for the CSS profile, they are usually way more generous than schools that only ask for the FAFSA. So keep that in mind as you're applying. They both take a little while to complete, about 45 minutes to 2 hours, but it is so worth it for the free money that comes as a result of it. The net price calculator. So by law, every college has to have a net price calculator on their website. If you enter in your financial information, it will produce a number called the EFC, the Expected Family Contribution. That number is also produced by the FAFSA and the CSS profile. So what the net price calculator does is give you a really good heads up and a really good estimate of what colleges and each college will ask you to pay. This isn't a uniform thing. Like, you should definitely fill out the net price calculator for every college you're interested in, because every college uses a different formula. And every college is going to have a net price calculator that is a lot. They're going to vary from person to person. So what is need-based aid and how do we do it? So we take that cost of attendance and let's round down now. Let's say $60,000. We then subtract from that the expected family contribution, the number that was produced when you filled out the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and the net price calculator. We then subtract any outside scholarships you might receive, maybe from a high school sports team, a religious organization, community service club, whatever. And whatever's left over is called the demonstrated need. That is the amount that you're showing us that there is a gap that's present between the cost of attendance and the amount that you can pay or raise. The demonstrated need is what you need to come to make college affordable. Now, in the old days, colleges would just give you that number in straight up loans. Nowadays, though, that amount, whatever's left over, and that amount is what they give you in grants and scholarships. To see what colleges practice need-based aid, you can actually go to Google and type in schools that meet 100% demonstrated need. And a long list of colleges across America will come up. But I think those should be great starting points for making college affordable. So the way sticker price works, and I want you to think about sticker price as tuition the same way you would buying a car. When you go into a car lot, you just don't accept the first offer that's given, right? And oftentimes that number that's on that ticket is not what you're going to pay. With need-based aid, it actually breaks down to the amount of money that you can actually afford. So let's take the first two, for instance. Let's say Amherst costs about $67,000 a year. Well, if your family, or if your net price, your EFC comes down to less than $30,000 a year, you and your family will only have to pay about $1,900 to go. And that's essentially going to be covered in your work study. So students that make less than, let's say, $75,000 would be able to go to a school like Amherst, a top rated college, almost completely free. If your family makes, let's go to the upper side, let's say 75 to 110,000. A student in that category will only have to pay about $20,000. So it's a lot more affordable than what that sticker price is. So don't let that sticker shock scare you into not applying. Because when you don't apply, you don't take a shot, you'll never find out if you're going to get admitted, and you'll never find out how much money the school is actually going to give you. A couple of quick examples, and I'm going to tap out and turn it over to our next presenter. But just to show you how the net price calculator works, I filled out a few for different colleges. Now, for these students, it's the exact same student profile. The student has a 3.5 GPA, a 22 on the ACT, single parent household, and mom makes about $50,000. They also have $1,000 in a checking account. So all of that will be factored into the student's tuition, just to show you how, even though a lot of times we talk about in-state tuition or local schools being a lot cheaper, that may not always be the case. And I'll show you why in a second. So UNCC, school I actually used to live right down the street from, costs about, in 2016, about $19,000 a year. This is not a school that does need-based aid. So as a result, a student will have to pay about $12,000 a year to go. So about a $7,000 discount. So still not bad, but let's see what others look like. Davidson College, my alma mater, and actually the school I used to work for. It's a little bit, it's about 30 minutes north of Charlotte. They cost about $70,000. So a very expensive, small liberal arts private school. However, this school does practice need-based aid. And for the same student that would have to pay $12,000 at UNCC, they will only pay about $5,000 at a school like Davidson, because they practice need-based aid. A few other really expensive schools that turn out to be cheaper in this process: Emory University, $70,000 a year. Net price calculator, same student, would come down to about $3,000, $3,800 to be exact. And last one is Pomona, another crazy expensive school out in California, great liberal arts college. $70,000 a year, a student will only have to pay about $57,000. So I'll show y'all this to say, even though a school may be down the street and you may have in-state tuition, sometimes you can save thousands, tens of thousands of dollars by expanding your horizon, looking out of state, looking at schools that have more generous financial aid policies than schools that only requires a FAFSA. So definitely keep that in mind as you start your process. A few resources for you as I tap out will be your net price calculator. If you want to give it a shot and play around with it, that is the website at the top. For students from households that make, let's say, less than $100,000 a year, the QuestBridge Scholarship Program is an amazing scholarship program. It's free of charge. Think of it like the NBA draft for college admissions. A student would apply to this program. If they get accepted, QuestBridge would then send their application out to their 20 partner colleges. A student will rank their top 20 colleges on the list in order of where they want to go. The colleges will also rank the students by how bad they want them. If a school and a student both fall on their list, they consider that a match. And if a student matches with a school through the QuestBridge process, you will actually get 4 years full ride tuition, completely paid for, room and board, books, everything is completely covered. And that is a free application. It is long, and the application deadline comes up early, about late August, early September. But that is an amazing program. I've had about 6 students actually receive that scholarship in the past couple of years, past 3 or 4 years. And these are students that will never have to pay a dime to go to college, not even for transportation to get to college for that first year. So definitely consider that. FastWeb and College Greenlight, amazing scholarship portals where you can research different scholarships, see what's out there. Play around with both of those. College Greenlight actually has a tool on it where if you list the colleges you want, you plug in your GPA, your SAT or ACT score, it'll give you a indicator on your likelihood of getting accepted to that school. So that can save you time as far as application fees, if you're applying to the right colleges, etc. But definitely check that out. And the last one is the Coalition for College Access. The reason why I put that up there is because that is a absolutely free application. You can apply to a ton of different colleges without paying a bulk of application fees. So definitely check that out as well. For anything else, feel free to shoot your questions out in the chat or hit me up directly using this information here. But I hope this was helpful. And I think you're in for a treat with our next couple of presenters. So thank you all for hopping on again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darren. That was amazing. So this will be available. It'll be saved if anyone wants to get back in contact with you. And honestly, we love free. So
Right, can't
thank
be
you
free.
for those resources. For those of you who do not know, Darren is he serves on the board for Generation Genesis, and he's just doing an amazing work in Arkansas and all over the world. He's doing amazing work. But Darren, we thank you so much. We're going to bring on our next presenter. So Our next presenter is a powerhouse. His name is Kyle King. He is an author. He's a business consultant. He's an educational expert. And those are just a few titles just to tell you the work that he's doing. He's also just been an amazing influence to young people all over the world. So I'm going to add here Kyle King. Let's welcome him to the stream.
Hello,
Welcome,
hello.
Kyle.
Can you guys hear me? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, this is like a TV set. I'm loving it. So welcome everybody. I'm so excited to, I guess, virtually connect with all of you on this platform. I can't see you guys, but I want you to be able to feel me, and I want you to access the chat. So I don't know if I can see the chat. Oh, the comment section. Here we go. All right. So I know oftentimes that we do these amazing introductions and we have all of these titles and accolades that, you know, pretty much define us as human beings, right? But I'm not the person. And I'm going to start this presentation with a little story before I pull up a few slides to be able to help you guys get to the next level. So when I was a 15-year-old young man, you know, still going through puberty, like probably a lot of the students on this call, on this presentation, I made a lot of bad decisions, right? One decision that changed the trajectory of my life. I was 15 years old. My parents were getting ready to go to a Maxwell concert in Durham, North Carolina, and I asked them to borrow the keys to their car. I just knew that I wanted to go to this party. It was on a Friday night. All of my friends were going. All of my friends had cars, but all of them had already been on their way there, or they had maximum capacity in their car. I think this was way before Uber and Lyft and all of these different things that we have now. So my parents said no. They said, no, you only have a learner's permit. I'm like, I know how to drive, though. I know how to drive. So put in the chat a 1 if you would have still taken the keys to the car and driven yourself to the party. Put a 1 in the chat if you were that person. It could be a parent on here. It could be a student on here. Put a 1 in the chat if you were that person that probably still would have taken the keys and went to this amazing party. You're a high schooler. You're excited. Your friends are all there. Put a 1 in the chat. Today, can I see the chat? Oh, I can't see it on my end.
So I can see it. So I can let you know how many ones we get. I don't know if for some reason y'all aren't able to see it, but I can see it.
That's okay. So I trust that there's at least one child or one adult on this panel.
There's 2 so far.
Yeah, that's that person that you would have taken the keys, right? You're the person that probably we got to look out for, and I got to keep my keys close to me when I'm around you. But you know the story. I took the keys, had an amazing time, picked up my friend, because I feel like you can't do negative things or be facetious with like by yourself. You got to have somebody with you to just retell the story in the future to make sure that I'm not tripping and you're not tripping as well. So we had a great time. Leave the party. I kept texting my parents just to make sure that they weren't on their way back home. So I knew that I had enough time to get home. Pulled up into the house, dropped my friend off first, pulled into the house. And still to this day, I feel like there was a malfunction into the car because I pulled into the driveway and I thought I hit the brake. And I hit the gas and ran straight through the closed garage door. Literally. No lie. No lie. So I can't see the chat, but I know somebody is on the other side like, oh my gosh. Right? So this is my dad's brand new car. The front end of the car is now tilted almost on the ground. The garage is up in the ceiling. I got to make a decision. So my decision was I ran into the house. Here we go. I can see the chat now. I ran into the house and I grabbed a towel. I wiped down the steering wheel because I was watching too much CSI back then. I wiped down the steering wheel, called the cops, and told them that somebody stole the car and ran it back into the house. No lie. No lie. Right? And the cops ended up coming. I called my parents, told them the same story. My mom was like, this doesn't sound right. Kyle, you're lying. This does not sound right. Why would someone steal the car and run it back into the house? And I had one of those moms that was from the hood. So she knew like it wasn't just the women's intuition. It was like, this just really doesn't sound right. So long story short, cops ended up coming there and I had to make a decision. Am I going to tell the truth or am I going to continue with the lie? Put a 1 in the chat if you would have told the truth. Put a 2 in the chat if you would have continued with the lie. Oh, you trust your lie. You trust your ability to skate through and you trust your ability to make it being untruthful, right? All right, so I'm going to trust there's some 1s and there's probably some 2s on there as well. So I told the truth. I told the truth because the police officer at the time said that you are falsifying a police report. You can end up getting in some trouble. We could end up arresting you, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, nah, I'm not cut out for that, right? So what I learned from that story is it's not that my parents were trying to just be hard. It's not that they were just trying to be bad parents or mean parents. It's that I lacked the necessary preparation. I lacked the necessary preparation to be able to drive the car without their assistance, drive the car without those policies and regulations in place. Because just like me, believing that I was ready before I actually was ready ended up me crashing into the garage, ended up with me believing that the car malfunctioned, but it was really that I wasn't prepared to move forward into the next level or the next season of my life. And as any parent is preparing their child, as any child is preparing to go into school to be that amazing college leader that I know that you are, the number one advice that I could give you is, how are you preparing yourself internally? How are you preparing yourself externally to be the best version of who God called you to be once you enter onto that college campus? Because oftentimes students that I talk to from around the world, they're crashing in relationships. They're running over into other people's lanes when it comes into what they actually want in their lives, simply because they're not prepared. Right? There was a story that I heard in the 80s, I believe it was, where the SpaceX NASA aircraft was getting ready to take off and go into space, and it blew up at launch. It blew up at launch, and everybody passed away. Everybody died. But they didn't just die. They didn't die from the fire. They died because they lost oxygen. They lost oxygen. They didn't have enough oxygen to be able to pass around for the paramedics to come there, right? And oftentimes, our friendships, our decisions, our behaviors, our self-limiting beliefs, our lack of confidence, our lack of clarity in regards to what we want to do, all of these different blinders around us are providing us or not providing us with enough oxygen for us to be able to be free in what we actually want to accomplish as adults moving into this next chapter into our lives. So I'm not going to talk to you guys long, I promise, because I want to be able to open the opportunity for people to ask questions. And I tell that story because from that story in my life, it's helped me be prepared in every setting. It's helped me be a 7-time best-selling author. It's helped me build a 7-figure company at the age of 28. It's helped me build a platform that has 30,000 students on our platform. It's helped me raise a 5-year-old in an amazing household and have him watch me build a home from scratch because of the hard work and the preparation that will be able to take you to the next level. That preparation started in college. It started in college being a Division I athlete at Alabama A&M University, finishing up school with a dual degree in finance and international business, leading to me finishing up a master's at UNC Charlotte in urban education. From there, then we've been in the entrepreneurial space, and it was an amazing opportunity. So college, interned with NASA, interned with the USDA, interned with BMW, studied abroad in Ghana. Yes, all as a college athlete, because I understood one thing. I needed to be prepared for the next level. I needed to be prepared for how I transitioned into this next season. I wanted to be the best. So I'm going to give you guys 4 things, 4 points that I want you to write down, 4 points. And these points, I believe, still drive a lot of who I am today. They still drive a lot of who I am today. So I'm going to pull these points up. Give me 1 second. And if there's any questions, please just let me know. I'm going to share my screen. Boom, boom. Let's see what we got here. All right. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but I'm going to talk through them. When you know your points, you could just rock out. So number 1, I want you to be able to realize your destination. I want you to be able to realize your destination. That's number one. I truly believe that it's hard to meet anything that you've never measured, right? It's kind of like us getting in the car right now and us just driving and us never having a conversation on where we're actually going. Eventually, we're going to run out of gas. Eventually, we're going to be lost. And oftentimes, we're getting in relationships. We're taking college courses. We're trying out for different things. We're signing up for different things. And we don't really realize, how is this going to help me get to the next level? How is this going to help me progress into becoming the person that I want to be 5 years after college? What problems do I want to solve now? What problems do I see now that I want to be able to solve later? So now I need to use this 4 years so that I don't have to work for the next 40 years, right? My father gave me a quote. He said, Kyle, before you go into college, if you focus for 4 years, you won't have to work for the next 40 years. I focused 4 years in college in my undergraduate studies. And I've been an entrepreneur living a free life, working only 10 to 15 hours a week, taking care of thousands of people around the country because I was focused those 4 years in college. All right. So realizing your destination is number one. I want you to define who you are now, who you are now. I want you to perform a keep, start, and stop list. All right. I want you to analyze yourself. What do you need to keep doing? What are things that have been working for you that you got to keep going? You got to keep rolling. You got to keep doing them. You just got to stay committed. You got to stay consistent. All right. What are things that you need to stop doing? You got to realize that, like, look, this isn't working for me. This is the same result every single time that I try to do this, or I try to talk to this person, or I try to join this club or this group of people. What are things that you need to stop doing? And then what are the things that you recognize you need to start doing as you move on into the next level of your, I need to study more. I need to introduce myself more. I need to put myself out there more. I need to network. I need to listen more, actively listen. I need to learn how to have more crucial conversations and focus on my problem solving abilities and conflict resolution. All right. So I want you to define where you are and who you are now. The second step is simple. I want you to define who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Because oftentimes in my field, a lot of people want to be millionaires, but they aren't willing to hold themselves accountable for all of the responsibilities that it takes to become a millionaire. A lot of people want to get married, but a lot of people don't want to be married and go through the challenges, the trials and tribulations that it takes to remain a husband or a wife. A lot of people want to be famous, but they don't want the responsibility and the pressure that comes with all of the different things that fame brings. So I need you to understand, who do you want to be? Define that. Define it a clear picture. Write out that big picture vision map. And then I want you to also identify the responsibilities that come with who you say that you want to be, because oftentimes there's a disconnect. Hey, mom, hey, dad, hey, coach, hey, mentor, I want to be this. Well, I'm going to show you everything that it takes to become that. And I want you to ask yourself, are you willing to hold yourself accountable? Are you willing to be mature enough? Are you willing to learn enough so that you can continue to commit to that process of becoming that person? All right. And then the third step, deciding what needs to be done. So it's interesting because when I first created this slide, I was in the mindset of like, all right, you got to decide what needs to be done. You got to figure out how to do it. I want every person on this call right now to write down this book that I'm going to recommend. Who, Not How. Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Who, Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Amazing book that changed my perspective, because as people, especially as a part of my generation, we've always been taught we got to figure out how to do it. We got to learn this skill. We have to become better in this. We have to have work ethic. We have to have this. No, you don't. I need you to become the best who person that you can become and work with how-to people. So it's not about how to do something. It's about who do you need that could be able to get you to the next level. That may be a mentor. That may be an accountability partner. That may be a tutor. That may be a college advisor. That may be a workout partner. That may be somebody that is an engineer and you're like more entrepreneurial savvy. Who do you need? Who are the 5 people that you need on your team to be able to pull off that big championship game? Anybody that's watching the Olympics right now, the USA lost last night in the 4x4 medley swimming race. Who could have been on that team? Who could have been on that team that could have helped them pull off the gold or the silver or the bronze? And when you think about your life right now, you're continuing to not place in races. You're continuing to miss the big game. You're continuing to miss the playoffs simply because you don't have the right people around you. So it's not necessarily about how do I learn more, Mr. King? It's about who do you need and how can you connect with more people that can help you get to the next level. All right. And the last step, understanding your why. Understanding your why is absolutely critical. People don't pay you for how you know how to do something. It's about why you're doing it. All right. So I need you to understand, write it down and let it drive you. Put it on your screensaver if you have to. I'm going to show you my why, right? So this is just one of my whys. So my son is on my screensaver. I have my mission statement on my computer screen if I was to share it and show you guys. And oftentimes, every single time I feel challenged, every single time a self-limiting belief comes up, every single time I don't really feel my best, I'm able to look here and look at my computer screen and keep my why in front of me, because oftentimes, let me tell you something, that pain, that trouble, that fear, your purpose will outweigh that. Your purpose will give you power that nothing else will be able to give you. All right. Because it's coming from a spiritual place that you need to be able to push you and progress you to the next level in your life. All right. All right. So step 2. So that's realizing your destination. And please put any questions if you guys have questions. All right. So step 2, I need you guys to optimize your experience. All right. So there's a quote that I have here. Your presence will get you to the door. Your mouth will get you in the door. Your excellence will keep you in the door. And your creation and innovation will allow you to open up doors. All right. So your presence will get you in the door. How you show up, that'll be able to get you into the door. Your mouth, how you negotiate, how you communicate, how you, your voice and the power of your voice, that'll be able to open up that door for you. Your excellence will keep you in that room, but how you're innovating, how you're creating, how you're problem solving, I guarantee that's what opens up doors for other people. It's not about, I need us to get out of the employee mindset. And I want us to own our opportunities, own our spaces, own our communities, own our mistakes. You are the only owner of how your life looks in the next 4 years going into college. You own everything. You own when you make a mistake and you own when you win. You celebrate your wins just as much as you talk about yourself when you lose. I want you to be able to optimize your experience in 3 ways. Number 1, identify those key players, those programs, or those projects. The key players, we talked about it. Who are those people? Who are those people? The deans in the schools. Where's the money in the college? I built relationships with the college advisors, but I also built a relationship with the VP of finance so that I can always be sure that I'm following where the money of the school is going, just in case I need an internship in this way, or I need to take a program here. I need to join this organization. Programs. What are the programs that are going to gain you the most exposure? And what are the requirements of these programs so that you can start preparing yourself now before you even get into college? And then number 3, the projects. What projects are important, not only in your college, but in the surrounding community, so that you can have a hand in the community, but also have a hand in your college, and you could be the connectivity between college or industry and academia. All right. So identify those key players, those key programs, and those key projects that will help you what? Be more marketable. All right. And then number 2, align every opportunity to the what. Please, 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 please stop just doing stuff. Don't just sign up for stuff because it sounds good. If it's not going to help you get to the next level, if it's not going to help you become that doctor or become that engineer or become that entrepreneur, or become that educator or become that archaeologist or become that architect, then why are you doing it? Everything that you do has to be intentional. every opportunity, every relationship. It's not about being a machine. It's about being smart and putting a system in place that could be able to push you forward. And again, for the 20th time, get you to the next level. Sometimes we have to recognize that we have to cut off who we used to be in order for opportunities to see and recognize us for who we are now, so that we can be able to receive those opportunities. All right. And then number four, study abroad changed my life. I got to tell you guys, going to Ghana, and I was over there for about 2-3 months. Going to Ghana is the reason that I'm an entrepreneur today, is the reason that I own businesses, is the reason that I own real estate, is the reason that I've hired so many people and provided so many opportunities. And the real thing that I learned over there, it's not that students lack some intellectual ability to learn. They lack the resources. They lack the coaching. They lack the people, the programs, and the projects. So when I came back to America after that experience and recognized real problems on an international level and exposed my mind to all of these different things, it gave me the motivation, the inspiration, and everything that I needed to be able to push me forward. I need you to step out of Charlotte, step out of Detroit, step out of New York, step out of wherever you are tuning in from, and get yourself a passport and get away so that you can see the world and understand that it's much bigger than you. It's much bigger than your community. It's much bigger than your state. It's much bigger than your street, than your block, all of these different things. That experience truly changed my perspective about life, perspective about the importance of gratitude, the importance of being thankful, just everything. So I had to put that on there so that you guys can take advantage of these opportunities that may feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it will be able to take you to a next level. All right. Number 3, I promise I'm almost done, y'all. I promise I'm almost done. Number 3 is about minimizing your oppositions. Minimizing your oppositions. Let me tell you something. Relationships drive results. Every relationship that I have, it's either brought me more relationships or given me some type of result. And that's friendships too. Either some opportunity was gained, or some ability to be clear, or just a growth or maturity, all these different things. If your relationships are not driving results, they are driving you to your failure. If your relationships are not driving you to results, they are driving you to your failure. All right. So I want you to be mindful. I want you to be mindful of the people that you're connected with, because I guarantee that the people that you will be that you're connected with, I want you to look at their families. I want you to look at their work ethic. I want you to look at their conversation. I want you to look at their interest and ask yourself, if nothing changed in them, would you be okay with where they're at, with where their families are, right? And if you don't change, are you okay with how you grew up? Are you okay with how you saw your parents maybe struggle? How your uncles and cousins maybe struggle? If you are okay with who you want to be and you don't want to change, this call may not be for you. This call may not be for you. I'm just going to be real. But if you are willing to be one step closer, or you want to just get 1% better, then you got to look at your relationships. Sometimes you got to leave South Beach, just like LeBron did, to win a championship. Whoever wants to say it, sometimes you got to do it. All right. Because it's sometimes not necessarily about your city. It's about sometimes you have to leave that environment, create your success, and then come back and provide for that environment. But sometimes that environment won't nurture the beautiful flower that you can become if you stay within that same soil. All right. Number two, perspective drives performance. How you view everything, well, how it's going to be how it is. All right. If you see things as negative, if you see things as that they can't help you, if you see things as something that it's not, then it's not going to be that. I want you to have a winning mentality going into school. All right. And the last step is your mental health matters. I got to put that on there. I have to say that, because the reality of it is that you could build a big business. You could build a big career. You can have big success. But if you're not a big person internally, you will be judged by all of the things that you have externally, and no one will ever know who you are internally, and it will eat you alive. I need you to take care of yourself first. That quiz that's coming up, look, I would rather you get an 85 than staying up for 17 hours just to get a 90. All right. I would rather you spend some time with you. I would rather you take a few days off. I would rather you be okay than anything else. All right. There's people dying. There's people committing suicide. There's athletes that are dropping out of things, and it's real. Okay. So I want you to be able to take care of yourself, and don't let success be the only factor that you see. And then you got to work, because I did it. That was me. That was me all through college. So you heard all of the success and all of the monuments, but I was burnt. And I had all of these accolades and all of these accomplishments, but I had nothing internally. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't understand or recognize who I was. People would ask me, what do you like to do for fun? It was all work related. People would ask me who I was, and it was all work related. So I'm going to challenge you to think of this perspective. If you couldn't give any title or accomplishment that you've ever had, how would you define who you are internally? And then I'm going to end with this question, right? I'm going to end with this question before we get to the last slide, I promise. If you lost your voice today, if you lost oftentimes we're not grateful for the things that we have. If you lost your voice and you were never able to use it again, what have you built? What have you created? What have you innovated? What impact have you left that could be able to speak for you? That could be able to speak for you. Is it a book? Is it impacting your community? Is it all of these other things? Because it's not about what's in your bank account. It's not. It's about what's in you that will be able to be poured out into the world around you. And then the last slide, I promise, is I want you to maximize 3 things. And that's your gifts, that's your talents, and that's your skills. I want you to be able to create a community around 4 C's. It's the 4C method. Church, community service, college mates, and a company. The churches around the community serve the community. Okay. So build a relationship with a church or a religious institution. All right. Number 2 is community service. I need you to serve within your community. I do. Because everything that I've been given was based upon what I was given. The giver gets, not the other way around. All right. Stop being selfish. And then number 3 is you got to build relationships with your college mates. Imagine if you were in that class with Mark Zuckerberg before he built Facebook, and all you did is build a relationship with him, support him, and see how you could serve. You would probably have stake in Facebook. Imagine if you were in class with Steve Jobs. Imagine if you were in class with Magic Johnson. Imagine if you had relationships with these people, where you would be, where your parents would be. All right. And then I want you to think about this. I want you to follow up. I want you to follow up with people. This is the method that I use. So if it's more so like tactics and actions. So every contact that I would meet in college, I would build an Excel spreadsheet, first name, last name, where we met, where they work, their email and their phone number, and the last follow-up date. I would follow up every other month with these people. Quick text, a quick email. Hey, just following up. This is what I have going on. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. Boom. Keep nurturing these relationships, because you never know where these people will be, who they'll know, how they'll be able to introduce you to people. 90% of my success is from relationships. Guarantee it. I've worked hard. I've learned. I've read. I read a book every week, all these different things. 90% of my success has come from relationships. I guarantee it. And then the last thing, the grass never stops growing. It never stops growing. So anybody on here, I want you to never stop learning. Never. I've accomplished a lot. It's cool. But I read every day. I am learning every day. I want you to take an hour a day. And if you can't do an hour, give me 30 minutes. If you can't do 30 minutes, give me 10. I want you to turn this thing off. I want you to turn the TV off. I want you to turn your iPad off. I want you to turn your watch off. I want you to turn all the electronics off and just sit with yourself and either journal or pick up a book and read the book. And just be present with nature outside. Or when you're having a conversation with someone, turn it all off and be present so that you can be able to receive what's being communicated. I guarantee, I want you guys, please, 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 if you didn't take anything from this conversation, I want you to never stop learning and never stop growing, because your knowledge, your wisdom, that's the one thing that they'll never be able to take from you. That's all I have. Hopefully this was valuable for you guys. I'm so excited for everybody to kill it in college. And if you guys need anything, any resources, anything, please feel free to let me know. And I'm gifting 2 students with $250 book scholarships. So we'll figure out how we're going to make that happen. So thank you guys for having me, and any questions, I'm here for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. Now, I know that was for the college students and future college students, but that blessed me. I don't know if you saw, I was like, preach. Oh my goodness. That was truly amazing.
Thank you.
So I was looking in the comments. It's so funny because StreamYard, for some reason, it doesn't show the comments from YouTube, and that's where the majority of the students are right now. So I just copied them and I put them as banners. So I'm going to just show them. So far, we have about 8 or 9 questions. But if you do have any questions, like they said, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll post them up. I'm actually going to bring Darren back on too, so that we can just have all this up here. All right. Hello, Darren. Welcome back.
Hey. Thanks for that word, Kyle. We're going to pass the collection plate for Kyle. Because, man, he killed it. I don't need to go to church on Sunday right there.
I appreciate you.
Oh, man. All right. So here's our first question. I thought this one was pretty interesting. My favorite school subject is aerobics. Didn't even know that was a school subject. Is there a major for that?
That is a different one. So I don't necessarily think there's an aerobics major that might fall under PE. For something like that, that's so specific, you may need to check out a liberal arts school. And the reason why I say that is the liberal arts school, a lot of people think it's just drawing or art and things like that. But what it actually is, if you break down the meaning of the word, liberal as in free and art as in discipline. So you have the freedom to study any discipline you want. So if you want to study the math behind aerobics or the physiology behind aerobics or anything like that, a liberal arts school will give you that opportunity. For a larger research school, let's say if you're in North Carolina, maybe like a UNCC, you will still have the opportunity to do that, but you may not be able to study aerobics specifically unless it falls under a designated major already. So for something like that, I would definitely consider schools like, if you're in North Carolina, like a Elon, like a Davidson, some of those small liberal arts schools where you can kind of have the wiggle room to do what you want.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. Next question. Are there different admission requirements for different departments or majors?
Yeah, so it really depends on schools, not necessarily departments. Now, if you want to do pre-med or pre-law or something like that, we will really dive deep into your applications, because for things like that, we need to make sure you are really prepared. If you look at every college admissions website, they always boast 86% of our pre-med students got into med school. 90% of our pre-law students made it into law school. So they want to keep those numbers high because those are good selling pieces for them. So while different departments or majors may not have different admissions requirements, the admissions counselors will really look at very particular things about your application, including your internships or extracurriculars if you want to do pre-med. And if you're a student of color, that will help out a lot too, to be honest with you, because we rarely see students of color getting that leg up on internships or work programs or things like that while they're in high school. Normally we have to wait until college. So if you're applying to a college and you already have that experience down, again, even if it's for 2 hours a week or something like that, we love to see it. And that will help, even if you don't have all the admissions requirements, the fact that you actually, had the initiative to go out and find other resources on your own will help out tremendously in that process. So definitely take advantage of outside extracurriculars.
That's good. All right. So next question. What things should I look out for in a school's culture that could be red flags?
Ooh, good question. A really good question. I always tell my students to look out for retention rates. When retention rates and graduation rates are way too low, that's a sign of something that we call undermatching in admissions. Undermatching is when a student has, like, let's say a 4.0, but they're applying to schools that will be safety schools for them, schools that they really don't have to work to get in or to get A's when they're there. The reason why undermatching is so scary, if you are like a genius, right? If you're at your high school and you're at the top 10%, let's say the top 5% of your high school class, and then you decide in your senior year, you just wanted to take the really easy classes. So you started taking, let's say, PE and health and those really easy one-on-one level classes. You're going to get bored. You're going to get restless. You're not going to care as much. And that's the exact same thing that happens in college, except for in college, you now have a $60,000 price tag looming over your head. So if you drop out, you're still going to have to pay that money back. You're just not going to be able to get that degree. So it actually helps out to go ahead and look for a school that's a perfect match for you. So as far as other red flags, undermatching, so retention rates too low. And by too low, I mean maybe 35% or less, because a lot of schools out there will have about a 35% or less retention rate. Graduation rates too low. If you're a student of color, no support systems on campus for you or your particular demographic. So no diversity coordinator, no Black Student Coalition, Asian Student Coalition, or anything like that. Those are the three majors. And also make sure you're happy. Know yourself, know what you are willing to do. I'm from Atlanta. I can't do cold weather. So when I went to go visit Cornell up in the Northeast and it was 16 degrees, I knew I needed to come back down south, right? There's no way I would go to class if it was 10 degrees outside. So know yourself. For my ladies, I always ask my female students, how far are you willing to drive to get your hair done? If you're willing to go a 5-minute walk, then maybe you need to look at a city school. If you're not comfortable driving 45 minutes to the next town over, then maybe you don't need to look at rural schools. So know yourself first in this process, because if you're not happy, you're not going to do well on that campus for 4 years.
That is really good. I've never thought about that. That is really good. Okay, so this question a little heavy. All right. What is the importance of college? It seems like they just want money, and my parents have a lot of debt because of it.
Want to take that one, Kyle? Yeah.
So whoever asked that, I completely understand your perspective. And it also depends on, who you are as an individual, because I don't personally believe that college is for every single student. But what I am going to tell you is, for me and my experience, college provided me with two things specifically, right? They gave me access to opportunities. They gave me access to an alumni network, and they gave me access to other people, right? So other students that I still have relationships with, potentially even clients or partnerships with, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to ask yourself, like Darren was saying earlier, like, who are you and what is best for you? Because all three of us on here went to school and we're highly successful. And there's a lot of people that have went through college that are highly successful. And I feel like in the world today, I do believe that, it's preached that, you don't have to go to college because it's just about a lot of money. But I personally believe that the numbers are skewed in regards to leadership positions or people, of wealth that have went to school, a 4-year institution, and have become successful. Now, when you have the Zuckerbergs, when you have the Jobs, when you have people that have dropped out of school, I want you to count those people on two hands potentially. There may be billionaires, there may be millionaires that have not went to school, but those are anomalies, to be completely honest. I believe that the majority of people that have had a structured and successful pathway, I do still believe in going to school. Even though my son grows up with certain privileges that I didn't have growing up, he will still be going to school because he'll have the opportunity of have structure. He'll have the opportunity of meeting and engaging with other individuals that are like-minded. He'll have the opportunity of learning from professors that are essentially experts in their individual fields. He'll have the opportunity to essentially test out internships at a high level and be able to have access to other people. He'll be taught on how to network with individuals that have already come through that school, that have built some type of success. So I always say something, I didn't put up that slide. You don't have to go to an Ivy League school to be an Ivy League student. What you make of college is going to be how you treat college will be how college treats you. I was a superstar because I took advantage of every opportunity, every internship. I asked all of the questions. I was top of my class. I was an athlete. And that's why it's helped me get to this point. So the people that are telling you not to go to school and it's just a waste of money, that's because they don't know how to use money. You have to use other people's money, and that's in the banking system, that's in the loan system, everything to be able to provide you with what you need. So you have to work college to work for you and not let college work you.
Mm. That's really good.
Let me add to that too. And those are all amazing points. Also, like Cal said, the exchange of ideas and the network that you build, because in college and the workforce, it's never really what you know, is who you know, right? And the beautiful thing about college is you're plugging into a network of like-minded people. All of you guys want to be in the same spot. You want to further your career, further your education. You want to learn about different things. But to use that Zuckerberg analysis, he didn't build Facebook by himself, right? He had the idea. He had to tap into other people that knew how to build the code, that knew how to market. And that's one thing that's great about college. Same thing with Microsoft. Bill Gates didn't build it by himself. He had a team of people that he met. So even though he dropped out of college, he still took those same people with him into his career when he wanted to build it. So it's a meeting ground for people that are all like-minded, that have an idea that may need a little bit of tweaking on it, but it's all about the exchange of ideas. Being in those classrooms, it's not really about just writing down notes and passing the test. It's really about those exchange of ideas and those discussions that really change students' trajectory. For me personally, I didn't take advantage of every opportunity I should have. I did take a lot of them, though. I was able to study abroad to Ghana completely free as well. And like Cal said, life-changing experience, definitely go. I was able to study abroad to Japan. And all of these are things that the schools paid for. On top of that, internships. The one thing about being a college student is you're going to be a broke college student, right? But it's great if you're able to kind of play around and get internships and have the school funded. Now, the other part of the question about money, when your parents applied to college way back in the day, and when we all applied to college back in our day, it wasn't that long ago, financial aid was completely different. That was when you had to take out loans if you didn't have the money. But now, recognizing that kids just don't have this type of money, $70,000 a year after 4 years, that is a house. So now with the need-based aid, if your parents don't have it, if they have a lot of debt, that actually works out in your favor. I hate to say it, but in this process, the broker you are, the better, because the college will give you more money to go. So don't let your parents' debt scare you. It's a completely new age when it comes to financial aid.
That's really good. Really good. Yeah, that was my situation too. It's just, one, ignorance, not knowing what was available. And then two, we just didn't have those resources. That was really good. Thanks, y'all. All right. So next question. I actually know this young lady. She's one of my mentees. She said, I'm going to study abroad in Italy in the fall. I am scared. What advice would you give me?
Kyle, you want that one?
Yeah, so I was so scared when I got on that plane. I remember my parents, they both showed up before we got on the plane. My mom was crying. And interestingly, I was the first one in my family to go internationally. So it was a huge, huge deal. And I was scared the whole flight. And the flight was a mess. The lady next to me, her baby threw up on me. It was crazy. And I'm not saying this to even scare you more. But what I'm saying, once I got off that plane and we went through customs and I walked outside in another country, I was like, wow, we did this. And I guess my piece of advice is be present in the moment so that you don't miss anything. From the crazy moments to the amazing moments to the scenery, to the people and the different cultures and how they interact, just to everything, that will be an experience that you will keep forever, that you'll always bring up in interviews, that you'll always bring up, in conversations that you'll never forget. Even if you go back there years later to vacation, it's never the same from that study abroad opportunity. So I don't know. My advice would be just be present, take in everything, and believe that this is the step that you need to take to be able to give you the push to becoming that person that you're destined to become.
Yeah, and studying abroad, honestly, is so much fun. It's a life-changing experience. I know we keep saying that, but it's because it is, right? My advice, honestly, is to Go in with open eyes. As Americans, we kind of have this ego when we travel abroad that our way is the right way. And these people are doing things weird. The culture is a little bit weird. Don't go in with that mindset. Try to experiment with everything. If it looks weird, that's what you need to do. If it looks like something you would have never done in America, try it out because it might be amazing over there. When I was in Japan and they gave me a plate of octopus for the first time, you see the tentacles, I'm like, nah, but it turned out to be pretty good, you know, but you can only get that when you actually travel and talk to people. Talk to as many people as you can from all walks of life. Talk to the natives if you can. I know you're in high school or college at this point. If you're in college, you're old enough to be able to kind of get off the beaten path a bit, meet some natives, make some friends, and just see how the natives live. Don't go to the touristy spots because that's what they want to show you. Talk to people to see how life really is in that country. And if you can speak the language or even struggle to try to speak the language, they appreciate that attempt way more, and they'll give you a lot of leeway and just appreciate you just for trying to understand their culture a little bit.
That's really good. Yeah, it's so crazy because I had never been on a plane until my honeymoon. And when I went to Puerto Rico and I saw the culture differences, it was a really big culture shock, but in the best way. Because one, it was like, wow, like I actually get to experience this. So I could imagine, me doing that in college. Like, I think that's just amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So we have about a few more minutes. I guess we can take maybe one or two more questions. Where'd that question go? Okay. Are AP and IB classes actually helpful? I'm taking 3 next year. Wow. And I have heard that they really don't count.
I have my thoughts. I'll let you go.
Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead. Let me hear your thoughts.
No, they're a waste. Yeah, wow. They're a waste, man. So I took a few IB classes in high school, and I feel like that's when the mental health issues started kicking in. And they didn't even count when I graduated. So I'm working overtime. So I have friends on the basketball team that literally they're skating through class. They're able to do things. And I'm like spending freaking 60 hours a week. I felt like, on class stuff and all these papers and all this. And then it didn't even count at the end. So I truly believe that they do that just to give you a higher experience, but it also helps with your GPA. I wouldn't go with it. I wouldn't.
All right. Let me hop in as an admissions counselor then.
Yeah.
So as an admissions counselor, and I feel you, I understand completely that all that extra work with APs and IBs is taxing. It is a lot. And at times it feels like it is really pointless when you look at your friends just floating and making those straight A's, right? The truth of it is it really depends on the type of college you're looking at. If you're if you're in North Carolina, if you're looking at a school like Davidson, for instance, they want a minimum of 3 to 4 APs on the transcript because the level of preparation you take in high school is going to prepare you for college in our mind, right? The harder the school to get into, the more APs they're going to require. So for students that's going to Harvard, you might have a 4.0, but when we recalculate it, because we're going to recalculate every transcript we get, if we're not seeing APs on your transcript, we can actually stop reading. I don't even have to get to your essay. I don't have to get to your ACT score because academically you're not prepared. So even though I know it sucks to go ahead and have to take them, if you want to go to those really hard schools to get into, you're going to have to take at least 4 to make it. And I'm talking about not the AP lights either, like the AP US history, the AP environmental science, we can go to sleep and make an A in. I'm talking about the AP calc, the AP physics, the hard ones. Now, if you can score a 4 or a 5 on your AP exams, you'll get college credit. And that's one perk about them. So AP results and IB results, if you get a 6 or 7 on IB, a 4 or 5 on AP, you're going to get guaranteed college credits in any college you apply to across the country. The AP exam is kind of like a ACT for US history or ACT for math. And if you can show you retained enough information in that class, any college will give you that credit. Now, if you're looking at in-state schools, though, and if you want to stay, let's say in North Carolina, you want to go in the University of North Carolina network, then you may not have to take it. And at that point, you can take a regular concurrent credit or dual enrollment class and still get college credits for those. The other perk about APs that we normally don't talk about is AP results are self-reported. So if you get anything less than a 3, meaning you basically failed that test, Nobody has to know about it but you. So do not let us know that you failed the AP exam and you will be okay. So don't stress out about it. Just make an A. We love to see those 4s and 5s on exams, but if you don't show us, we can't assume that you took it. So you can go in a little bit more stress-free without that pressure of I have to get a 4, I have to get a 5 on it. Just do your best and you're cool.
Wow, that's something I never thought about either. I've taken honors courses. I've never taken AP or IB classes, so that's really good to know. Okay, so I think we're at time right now. Would you both like to share your contact information just in case anyone wants to ask you any questions we maybe didn't get to? How can they connect with you on social media? All that.
Yeah, Kai, you want to go?
So on LinkedIn, I know some students probably aren't on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, Kyle S. King, Kyle S. King. And for students on Instagram, Kyle S. King. So just KYLESKING. Please feel free to reach out if you need anything at all, questions, resources, anything. I'll be here for you guys.
Yeah, and my contact info, if you want to email me, is my name, Darren, DARREN, at Arkansas Commitment, COMMITMENT.org. So feel free to email me. My nonprofit is completely free, so we don't charge for college advice. If you want to make a donation, feel free, but otherwise we're completely free of charge. And I do see one question from Hannah Mallory. Do I have time to answer that one real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. So one of the questions here is about, what advice for 40 plus of job and children who wants to start or complete a degree, any grants or scholarships for 40 plus. So there's actually a ton. You can actually start with your employer. Look to see if they have any tuition matching programs that they offer. If you've been working there for about 3 to 5 years, they'll be able to either give you 50% reduction, pay for half of it, as long as it is in line with the work that you're already doing. In most cases, they'll pay for it. Depending on your career, if you're a teacher, for instance, they have grants out there just for teachers called the Teach Grant, actually. And different occupations out there, different subsectors of capitalism, of the American workforce, will also have different programs and scholarships as well. A couple of great websites, collegegreenlight.org, collegegreenlight.org, as well as fastweb.com would be another good one, just to kind of play around to see if there are any scholarships out there. But definitely start with your employer and branch out from there.
Cool beans. My bad. I didn't even see that question. I must have been on Facebook.
No, you're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, y'all know how to get in contact with me because you're here. So we thank y'all so much for attending the 2021 Virtual College Symposium. Hopefully next year we will be able to be in person. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of us and we will be glad to get back to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank y'all.